Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Aina binti Mohamad Kassan.
Hi, my name is Syatirah binti Saharzam.
Hi, my name is Nur Ain binti Khairul Anor.
Hi, my name is Suhana.
My name is Nur Ain Izzati binti Rendrye.
We are Group 3 from JBA 25138 presenting to you the risk management for chemical industry.
Chemical industry refers to a group of processes, operations, and businesses that make chemicals in their derivatives. The chemical industry is made up of businesses that make industrial chemicals. It turns raw materials such as oil, natural gas, air, water, metals, and minerals into over 70,000 different products. Although the chemical business can be simply defined as an industry that employs chemistry and makes chemical. Because crude oil was only treated to a simple distillation treatment in the early days of the petroleum industry, the petroleum industry is commonly conceived of as separate from the chemical industry. The chemical industry is under the manufacturing industry as it turns raw materials into a variety of products. Raw resources are transformed into tangible products which are then sold to consumers by manufacturing companies. One of the things a manufacturing company can do to increase the efficiency is to get high quality raw materials. In the case of perishable and edible goods, the company should investigate how raw materials are stored, processed, delivered to the customer. The company that we have chosen is PETRONAS Chemicals Group, which is the Southeast Asia's largest chemical producer, directed by Chairman Wan Zulkifli Wan Arifin. The company operates several plants in Malaysia and has an annual production capacity of more than 10 million metric tons. The company manufactures a wide range of chemicals used in fertilizer application and plastic, such as olefins, polymers, and methanol. Its products are marketed in over 30 countries with a focus on Asia Pacific. This company is a global integrated chemicals company with a strong stakeholder structure. The stakeholders consist of their employees, customers, suppliers and vendors, business partners, shareholder and investment community, government and regulators, communities as well as media. Recently, on 25 August 2021, PETRONAS Chemical Company has shown an increased performance on their profits and revenue, with the price of crude oil increasing because of higher in demand globally for overall during COVID-19. The revenue of the company has grown 77% to 5.6 billion compared to the second quarter in the previous year, 2020, with only 3.2 billion. The profits that the company obtains during the second quarter in 2021 is due to the petrochemicals demand, which is the prices of the polymers and urea has increased with 70% and 60% respectively, while the price of ammonia and methanol has shown a double increase. As we can see, the PETRONAS Chemical Group has shown a good performance in 2021, even though the COVID-19 hits globally, including Malaysia.
In part 2, I'll be presenting to you the risks identified in chemical industry, especially focused on petrochemical company PETRONAS Chemical Berhad. The first risk identified is market risk. It can be defined as the possibility that an individual or companies will experience losses due to any factors that affect the overall performance of investment and stock market performance in the financial market at the same time. Market risk is also known as systematic risk, where it cannot be eliminated and the factors are unpredictable. The causes of this risk was due to the capacity addition by new and existing procedures, offering greater availability and a variety of products, global trade disruption, crude oil price volatility, and also advancement of new technology leading to product substitution. The effect from the risks are inadequate cash revenue from low sales or compressed margins, lower consumer demand due to cautious business and consumer sentiment, lower shareholders' return due to poor financial performance, and also planned slowdown due to high inventory. In chemical industry, fire risk is impossible to avoid. Fire risk is the product of the probability of fire occurrence and the consequence or extent of damage to be expected on the occurrence of fire. The causes of this uncontrollable fire risk is due to most of the materials used for operating oil and gas are flammable, electrical malfunctions, heating on hot work equipment and machinery that are not properly operated, function and maintained, and also all chemicals material are not being stored properly with safety. The worst scenario fire risk can cause are injury and death. Other than that, fire risk can lead to property and stock damage and costly to replace all of them. When a company caught fire, it affected chemical business losses due to the longer time taken for business operation to operate. It also affects the brand of chemical company, reputation and customer loyalty. The next risk identified in chemical industry is operational risk. There are certainties and threats that a company faces when intending to operate its day-to-day business activities within the industry are defined as operational risk. Operational risk is often caused by ineffective or failed internal processes, employee systems, or any external events that can affect the flow of business operation or production. Some of the factors of operational risk found in this industry are non-compliance with equipment reliability strategy, inspection or maintenance program, inherited hardware or software design deficiencies and equipment failure, ineffective turnaround implementation, and also supply interruption to customer. Due to operational risk, it will lead to inability to meet customers' demand, loss of production volume and revenue, increase in maintenance costs, and also operational disruption at manufacturing plants and unsustainable operational performance. The fourth risk that was identified in chemical industry is liability risk, which is a form of operational risk that involves the risk of being held accountable or liable for an action or omission that results in a direct or indirect financial loss, whether or not somebody were at fault. There are a few causes and effects that had been identified for liability risk. Liability incurred as a result of a materialized fraud risk, customers or regulation bringing a lawsuit against the company as a result of data breach or violation of personal data, and acquirers, shareholders sue the company's management for shoddy acquisition due diligence that resulted in a dilutive deal, and also corruption of the environment, pollution or environmental damage that causes by one's conduct might result in liability. The liability risks affect negatively to the company with damage of reputation, credibility, or damage to the company's brand value. Other than that, business had to face loss as a result of order cancellations or the claims for damage by third parties. There is also a risk of financial loss as a result of a buyer's breach of contract or the company's failure to appropriately handle contractual benefits or obligations. It also raises liquidity risk which has an impact on stock prices and market capitalization. It will almost likely result in a drop in sales and a loss of clients. Furthermore, business risk is also identified in chemical industry. It refers to a threat to the company's ability to achieve its financial goals. In business, risks mean that a company or an organization's plan may happen as originally planned or because it does not meet its target or achieve its goals. The causes of business risk are significant disruption to international economies, climate change and environmental management, competition in the development of innovative products and solutions, and also changes in the US dollar to the ringgit Malaysia exchange rate. The effect faced by the company are weakening demand for oil and leading to a decline in oil prices. The emerging low carbon economy poses potential liability, physical and transitional risk to the business, creating lower market share and fewer profits, and also decreasing production output and on domestic market obligation. The last risk identified in the chemical industry is fundamental risk. It is a risk that affects the entire or large number of people or group within the economy. It affects society in general or group of people, which means that it cannot be controlled, not even partially by any one person. The causes for this risk are different climate or weather, market uncertainties, COVID-19 pandemics, and also new policies or sudden changes in regulations and policies. While the effect of these risks are high risk of heat stroke faced in very hot weather, decreased effectiveness of the market operations, health-related issues from the virus outbreak, and lastly, reduced profit or loss of businesses and market share. To be added, fundamental risk is an uninsurable risk and risk intrinsic, which produce no uncertainty about the number of losses that will occur that need to be incurred by the company.
In this slide, it shows the risk assessment metric, which includes 6 types of risks such as market risk, fire risk, operational risk, liability risk, business risk, and fundamental risk. This assessment metric is used to define the level of risk by considering the category of frequency and against the category of severity. It can be concluded that fire and fundamental risk had a likely frequency and catastrophic impact, while for the business risk, it had possible frequency and major impact. Next, for the liability risk has really unlikely frequency, however, the impact quite big. And lastly, for operational and market risk, it has equal result with possible frequency and only moderate impact needed to incur by the chemical company. For market risk, every industry in the world, including petrochemical industry, is affected by market risk. According to the PETRONAS 2020 report, chemical market is very volatile and frequently experience shift in supply and demand, which influenced by a variety of geopolitical and economic factors. Besides that, petrochemical prices are strongly linked to the crude oil prices. For example, related to the current situation of COVID-19, the demand in the second quarter 2022 is decreased due to the global market crash, and it directly affect the price of crude oil fell to USD 22 per barrel. From this, it can be concluded that the frequency of the market risk chemical industry is possible, while the impact need to incur by the company is moderate. Next, for the fire risk, according to the Alliance Risk Barometer report, fire and explosion are one of the common accidents will be faced by any industry, especially chemical industry. According to the National Fire Protection Association, there are an average of 37,000 fires occurring at industrial and manufacturing property every year, which result in a higher loss. Furthermore, according to the Government National Disaster Management Guideline, the frequency and impact of accident caused by chemical disaster has increased in the last few years. This is proof that the fire risk gives a likely frequency, however, the impact is catastrophic to the company. Furthermore, for operational risk, the loss need to incur by the company from operational risk can affect their financial directly and indirectly. For example, for PETRONAS Chemical, when the machine mainly used for production are broken down, the company has to take an immediate action, which is to temporarily shut down the production as they need to repair the machine. As a result, it affects the revenue of the company to declining. This is why operational risk frequency is only possible and the impact is moderate. Next, liability risk also one of the risks that faced by chemical industry. According to the latest PricewaterhouseCoopers Global Economic Crime Survey, asset misappropriation is the most common sort of economic crime in the chemical industry. However, last 2 years, the percentage of economic crime is declining from 40% to 37%. Besides that, cybercrime also one of the worry crime in the chemical industry. Although the rate of this incident were low, however, the impact of the incident is quite severe due to it could lead to a corporation reputation damage, which is seen as a bigger issue compared to financial loss. This is why the liability risk is considered as a low frequency but major impact to the chemical company. Business risk is usually uncertainty that might result unexpected gain or loss. Most common business risk is climate change, which gives an impact to the financial and life losses. When the company is failed to address climate concerns urgently, it will cause us a greater harm than the financial crisis in the term of erasing any gain made on a global development fronts. Another impact of business risk also include the change of the US dollar to the ringgit Malaysian exchange rate. Volatile oil prices coupled by the oversupply and weak growth demand continue to impact PETRONAS Chemical Group. According to PETRONAS news release, a weak demand outlook and continuous oversupplies will put further pressure on the crude oil prices and the need to continue its cost cutting to stay competitive. Overall, business risk frequency is shown possible and the impact is measured. Lastly, fundamental risks, which include natural disasters such as flood and earthquake, as well as high inflation, which has had a significant impact on a world industry performance. Petrochemicals are used in a wide range of consumer products, and as a result, demand for petrochemical is strongly correlated with global economic activity. According to Netsio Peabody, which is a law firm, COVID-19 was qualified as a natural disaster for the purpose of the emergency code because it caused hardship and possible loss of life. Due to the COVID-19, the petrochemical industry has been impacted by the crash in oil prices, and thus the market is facing its lowest demand in 25 years. This is why fundamental risk is being categorized the frequency as almost certain and the impact is measured.
First of all, I will explain about market risk. The risk management method for market risk is risk control. This is because it will prevent it from getting worse. Nevertheless, market risk is difficult to manage because it is unpredictable and we cannot avoid from it. But we can control it by monitoring our company's performance or profitability in order to minimize the losses. Hence, if market volatility occurs, our company will be less vulnerable to market risk and we can control the loss. The method company can use to reduce the market risk is choose a long-term investment. This is because when a company invests in the market for a short period of time, volatility hits them hard. Next, diversify to handle concentration risk. When a company uses this method, hence the chances for a company to lose is low, as it not focus only on one stock. Moreover, stick to low impact cost names to beat liquidity risk. Last but not least, there are no types of takaful coverage to cover market risk because it is unavoidable. However, cooperative hedging and bilateral mutual adjustment are Sharia compliance instruments for reducing currency and interest rate risk. Furthermore, takaful operators could use stress test and value at risk (VAR) techniques to reduce commodity price risk and equity risk. VAR is a risk management method to evaluate the market risk. One of the instruments that can be used to assess the vulnerability of portfolio to abnormal shocks and market trends is stress testing. The probability of portfolio losses exceeding a certain proportion is referred to as a value at risk. Next, fire risk. The best risk management method for fire risk is risk avoidance or risk prevention. All chemical companies, including PETRONAS Chemical Group Berhad (PCG), should manage the fire risk in order to protect the safety of employees and customers, decrease the physical damage and loss, and minimize the likelihood and the severity of fires. The first action need to be taken is to always consider the hazard within the organization that caused fire based on Health and Safety Authority's website. The second way to help prevent fire is the organization always need to ensure buildings are up to code, which include the type of roof, the material used for primary structure, and exterior and interior finishing materials. Thirdly, chemical companies need to implement fire detection system in their property to prevent any fire accidents. And fourthly, to prevent fires from occurring in the chemical industry, the employer needs to build awareness and training programs among employees. Moving on to the types of takaful coverage a company should take. For fire risk, a company should take takaful my fire. Takaful my fire is insurance that can protect insured for losses to property including buildings and furniture. In basic takaful, it can cover damage that caused by explosion or fire. However, insured can extend their insurance to include any special perils that are permitted under revised fire tariff (RFT). Insured also can include extra benefits in their fire insurance such as covering a loss of rent and other perils with a minimal contribution such as flight electrical installation clause B, earthquake, and many more. The duration of cover for takaful my-faria insurance is for 1 year and needs to be renewed by the insured once a year. Additionally, operational risk. The risk management method for operational risk is risk retention. It should be noted that not all risks such market risk, business risk, and liability risk of the company will able to accept this risk. Risk retention is depending on the company itself in terms of the size of the company, their revenue or profits, and types of businesses they handle with. There is one takaful product that might be suitable and appropriate to hedge high operational risk to occur, which is machinery breakdown takaful, and is effective from August 1, 2020. The scheme covers plant machinery and mechanical equipment for sudden and unforeseen physical damage or loss caused by accidental electrical or mechanical breakdowns at work, at rest, or during maintenance operation such as cleaning. The cost that the company has to contribute may vary depending on the business risk exposure, but the minimum amount of contribution is 250 per annum. This scheme is good for a company such as PETRONAS. Nevertheless, reconsidering the cost that PETRONAS has to pay and the benefits if the company did not apply to the scheme, the company chose to not apply to the scheme. The scheme is limited to 1 year only, and the insured can renew their certificate annually. Moreover, the corporation used its good track record in health, safety, and environment (HSE) to safeguard its employees against the virus. To guarantee company continuity, improved HSE rules were quickly adopted. The corporation will not concentrate on keeping its operation running at full capacity. This involves implementing integrated digital technologies to improve plant reliability and efficiency. PETRONAS Chemical Group proven their effectiveness during COVID-19 by have used various of risk management such as enterprise risk management, ERM, crisis management, CM, and business continuity management, BCM.
Moving on to liability risk. The best risk handling method that can be applied by PETRONAS Chemical Group for liability risk is risk control. On 1 June 2020, PETRONAS Chemical Group subject to corporate liability under Section 17A of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009, which penalizes commercial organizations for failing to prevent bribery and corruption. To ensure they are shielded from the responsibility under Section 17A of the MACC Act, PETRONAS established an adequate procedures implementation plan and managed it under their Corporate Risk Profile 2009. Steps in decreasing liability. The first step is identifying the many loss situation that can result in liability risk for any corporation. After that, each loss possibility should be measured and studied in relation to the control in place. Each loss scenario should be then evaluated and examined in relation to any kind of liability risk insurance that is in place or that is to be purchased based on the result of the measurement. The end result should be reduction in the amount of ringgit an organization is exposed to liability risk. For cyber liability risk, PETRONAS had strengthened their cybersecurity by adopting PETRONAS ECSGF, a single cybersecurity governance framework and standards based on the industry best practices and standards. While for fraud risk, the company can establish a framework for fraud risk management and also investing in anti-fraud systems. The problem with the fraud risk is the risk comes from an internal source, which is why the system must be employed to actively prevent fraud and corruption. There are a range of liability risk insurance policies that can be used to protect against various sorts of operational liability risk. An operational risk event such as liability risk event is statistically significantly more likely to cost than its translation into a legal event such as monetary demand or litigation. To put another way, the occurrence of a loss scenario is far more likely than the turning of that loss into a legal claim. There are insurance policies or products which focus on various types of liability risks, such as cyber insurance liability, professional liability insurance, and others. PETRONAS can subscribe to a public liability takaful. The product protects the participant from liability to pay compensation for accidental bodily injury, or accidental damage to another person's property caused by the participants or his employees' negligence, or by any defects in the premises owned by the participants, or by any defects in the participants' ways or works. In addition, with the takaful operator's written consent, the product will pay lawsuit fees and defense expenses. Accidental bodily injury to any person not a member of the participant household, or any person in the participant services or contract of employment, unforeseen property damage not belonging to or in the custody or control of the participants, as well as any legal expenses incurred by the participant in defending legal proceedings with the takaful operator's written consent, are covered by this product. The coverage would be for 1 year. The certificate must be renewed every year. Next is business risk. The best business risk in handling method that can be taken by all the chemical companies in risk control, which is the most effective approach to lose control. For example, if a factory owner discovers that a chemical used in the manufacture of a company's goods is risky for the workers' health, he would seek for a safe alternative chemical to preserve the workers' health. The consequences of the COVID-19 related economic downturn and the oil price drop reverberated throughout these industries, which were already dealing with difficult long-term trends. Therefore, PETRONAS' growing consumer awareness about sustainability has prompted energy and chemical industries to investigate decarbonization technologies, evaluate existing assets, and begin to diversify away from hydrocarbons where viable. Next, work and the workforce are being transformed as a result of the increased usage of digital technology in the workplace. Chemical industry must pay a higher priority on cyber security as they adopt newer technologies in essential sectors of their business model in order to avoid businesses interruption and financial implications. The industry also must anticipate and plan for the possible risks such as operational hazards, extreme weather, and product liability. In terms of climate change, PETRONAS should strengthen its operation by reducing flaring and venting of hydrocarbons, capturing methane emissions, and optimizing production and operations. Reduce GHG emissions from operation through improving energy efficiency and using low carbon or renewable energy. Reduce the amount of waste and encourage recycling across the value chain. Besides, it would be better if PETRONAS increasing the efficiency with low carbon energy and solutions such as natural gas and renewable energy are supplied. Indeed, the takaful has included environmental and green issues on their agendas and is on its way to adopting sustainable practices such as environmental and social governance and social responsible investment as part of their corporate social responsibility charters. The financial industry has mostly incorporated the green agenda into its company strategy through supporting the green technology industry. The Islamic finance sector has also been adapting and incorporating environmental issues into its framework, as be seen by the introduction and rapid proliferation of green sukuk and Sharia-compliant green and sustainable investment products. Thus, takaful plays an important role in solving environmental challenges. In reality, the whole Islamic financial ecosystem may be mobilized to help the cause. As a result, the takaful industry has to contribute in terms of managing the risk posed by the climate change, and it can be a credible solution for such risks since it has the ability to solve the global climate issues such as environmental degradation. Last but not least is fundamental risk. High inflation, unemployment, war, and natural disaster such as earthquake are examples of fundamental risks. The petrochemical industry cannot avoid the fundamental risk because it is linked to climate change. Malaysia is experiencing hot and humid weather throughout the year. The average daily temperature throughout Malaysia is between 21 Celsius to 32 Celsius. Hence, there is also a higher risk of heat stroke faced in the very hot weather. As a result, in order to reduce risk, we will employ risk control as a risk management strategy. Firstly, the fundamental risk can be controlled by implementing emergency training such as for offshore staff. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, should play their roles by offering training to their employees thoroughly on standard operating procedures (SOPs). By doing this, all of the staff will have basic knowledge when the unforeseen event occurs, and hence they know what they should do and what they should not do. The Malaysian government and Meteorology Malaysia must work together to implementing various emergency services such as creating warning sirens and apps that will give attention to citizens if there is a sign of natural disaster. For the time being, PETRONAS seems to be handling the COVID-19 pandemic very well. The group remains committed to ensuring its employees' well-being while ensuring the business safe and optimal functioning across the value chain. Since 13 March 2020, office-based staff has been working from home to perform their duties. Employees are reminded to follow strict standard operating procedure such as the usage of face masks, hand sanitizer, temperature checks, and health declaration among other. And all international and domestic travel has been postponed, with the exception of business critical travel, which is subject to approval and guideline from national authorities. Employees and contractors working offshore must follow the required safety procedures and additional protocols at each operational site to protect their safety while they do their essential duties. These include providing standard personal protective equipment, PPE, and ensuring that the personnel conform to severe COVID-19 testing as well as the quarantine time. Standard operating procedures have been established for retail station employees at PETRONAS stations and kedai mesra across the country, including the continuous sanitation of facilities, a limited number of customers in-store, and the use of Settle app to purchase fuel, as well as to reduce the physical contact. Moving on to how PETRONAS operates in this new normal. Comprehensive SOPs were established domestically, such as occupancy limitation for employees at office, plants, and offshore site at any one time, while their other workers work from home to maintain business continuity. Some upstream operation crew members, particularly offshore employees and those at the selected terminals, must undertake strict COVID-19 testing and be quarantined for 7 to 10 days until the result of their tests are known. In addition, the company has implemented relief, rental exemptions, and deferment for its retail operation in order to keep small, medium-sized companies (SMEs) in business. The innovative contactless LNG offloading technology was designed to reduce the risk of people in LNG shipping operation catching the virus. Last but not least, their project delivery and technology team shift its focus to seeking alternative supplier from non-affected countries and optimizing the group's inventory in order to keep the whole value chain working smoothly.
To conclude everything we have stated, risk is the primary source of uncertainty. As a result, businesses are increasingly focusing on detecting and controlling risk before they have a negative impact on their operations. The capacity to manage risk will enable businesses to make more confident business decisions in the future. Therefore, risk management is important because it entails aiming to influence future events as much as possible by acting proactively rather than reactively. Hence, business needs insurance to help cover the expenses of property damage and liability claims. Without business insurance, owners may be forced to pay costly damage and legal claims made against their company out of pocket.